Episode 1. The Eyes of the Serpent. It was my first day entering the heart of Black Hollow Mountain. The forest was thick, dark, and silent, as if every leaf, every branch, and every stone was holding its breath. The locals had warned me about the Serpent Lord, the legendary guardian of the mountain, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to witness. I cautiously stepped through the dense undergrowth, each movement crunching softly under my boots. The air was heavy and damp, carrying the earthy scent of moss and decaying leaves. Suddenly I froze. From the corner of my eye, a glimmer of light reflected off something in the shadows. I turned, and for the first time I saw the eyes, bright yellow, glowing like twin lanterns piercing through the mist. The silence weighed heavily around me, every sound amplified in the stillness, the rustle of leaves and the distant call of birds echoing into the unknown. The creature's gaze remained fixed on me, a mix of curiosity and caution, as if it was assessing my intentions. I could feel the pulse of the forest, a heartbeat synchronized with my own, as if the very essence of nature held its breath in anticipation. In that moment, I was not just an observer. I was a part of this wild, untamed world, standing on the threshold between fear and fascination. I slowly raised my notebook, trying to record what I saw. The eyes didn't move away. They followed me, unwavering. Shadows danced around me as the morning mist thickened, and I could barely discern the outline of its massive, sinuous body weaving through the trees. Each scale reflected the faint light glimmering like molten gold. A sudden snap of a branch to my left made me jump. The eyes flicked in that direction for a brief moment, and then back to me. I realized in that instant that this creature was not just a guardian, but a ruler of this domain, aware of every movement, every heartbeat. I whispered into my recorder, "It's not hunting me yet, but it knows I'm here. Every instinct it has, every sense is attuned to this mountain and to me." My heart raced. I had read stories, seen sketches, even listened to villagers' whispers, but seeing it was different. Those eyes were intelligent, calculating, and they seemed to look straight through me. I felt a chill run down my spine. Every instinct screamed to flee, but my curiosity anchored me to the spot. The forest around me seemed alive. Leaves rustled as if whispering warnings, branches creaked and moaned. The air itself seemed to pulse with an unseen presence, and then I heard it, a soft, deliberate hissing, low and resonant, echoing through the trees. The Serpent Lord was near, moving with a grace and menace that made my every hair stand on end. The Serpent Lord slithered closer, its body undulating effortlessly over the forest floor, each movement deliberate and calculated. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, drowning out the soft sighs of the trees above. The stories I had heard began playing in my mind like a haunting melody, each note reminding me of the dangers that lay ahead. This was no ordinary creature. It possessed an aura of ancient wisdom and power, a testament to the mysteries of the woods. I couldn't move. I was trapped between fear and fascination, caught in the spell of its hypnotic stare. Time seemed to stretch. Minutes felt like hours as I stood frozen, my eyes locked with the glowing gaze. The mist swirled around us, and for a moment it felt like the mountain itself was watching, judging my presence, testing my courage. Eventually the eyes blinked, or at least I think they did. The Serpent Lord slithered away silently, disappearing into the dense forest, leaving me shaken but unharmed. My legs trembled, but my mind raced. I knew this encounter was only the beginning. The mountain had acknowledged me, and I had survived my first meeting with its ultimate guardian. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the adrenaline coursing through me. The forest was quiet again, but a sense of being watched lingered. I whispered into my recorder, "This is where it happened, where I stood face to face with the Serpent Lord. The mountain's guardian has seen me, and I am forever changed. This is only the beginning." With renewed determination, I glanced back at the mountain, feeling a calling deep within. This place held secrets waiting to be uncovered, and I was ready to explore them. I've seen its eyes, I felt its power, and I know the true journey has just begun. With that, I pressed forward into the unknown, knowing that every step deeper into Black Hollow would bring me closer to the secrets of the Serpent Lord and the danger it carried. The air grew thick with tension as I approached the ancient altar, feeling the pulse of magic beneath the ground. With each heartbeat, I could sense the presence of the Serpent Lord growing stronger, beckoning me to uncover its dark legacy. As I reached out to touch the altar, a surge of energy coursed through me, igniting my senses and awakening a forgotten strength. Ahead lay uncharted territories filled with peril and promise, whispering tales of glory yet to be written. With a storm on the horizon, I felt the weight of destiny pressing upon my shoulders. Each drop of rain seemed to call me forth, urging me to embrace the challenges that lay ahead and to face whatever darkness awaited. Just ahead, the tangled brambles parted slightly, revealing the yawning mouth of the cave, inviting yet foreboding. I steeled myself, driven by curiosity and courage, ready to uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the dark recesses. I've seen its eyes, I felt its power, and I know the true journey has just begun. With that, I pressed forward into the unknown, knowing that every step deeper into Black Hollow would bring me closer to the secrets of the Serpent Lord and the danger it carried. The air grew thick with tension as I approached the ancient altar, feeling the pulse of magic beneath the ground. With each heartbeat, I could sense the presence of the Serpent Lord growing stronger, beckoning me to uncover its dark legacy. As I reached out to touch the altar, a surge of energy coursed through me, igniting my senses and awakening a forgotten strength. Ahead lay uncharted territories filled with peril and promise, whispering tales of glory yet to be written. With a storm on the horizon, I felt the weight of destiny pressing upon my shoulders. Each drop of rain seemed to call me forth, urging me to embrace the challenges that lay ahead and to face whatever darkness awaited. Just ahead, the tangled brambles parted slightly, revealing the yawning mouth of the cave, inviting yet foreboding. I steeled myself, driven by curiosity and courage, ready to uncover the secrets that lay hidden in the dark recesses. Episode 2. The first night as darkness fell over the abandoned village near Black Hollow. The atmosphere grew thick and suffocating. I set up a makeshift camp in a dilapidated cabin, trying to build a fire bright enough to keep the shadows at bay. But even the flames seemed powerless against the strange darkness outside. Shadows twisted and danced on the walls, making me feel watched from every direction. From deep within the forest came the hissing calls of the Serpent Lord, long and haunting, as if it could anticipate every movement I made. Leaves rustled unnaturally, and the stones beneath me shifted with barely audible sounds, giving the impression that invisible creatures were closing in. Every time my flashlight swept the cabin, shadows flickered and vanished, teasing me with glimpses of something that was neither entirely visible nor entirely absent. I tried to calm myself by writing in my journal. Tonight I feel the full power of the Serpent Lord. It is not merely a creature, but the soul of this mountain. Everything around it bends to its will. Suddenly there was a sharp scratching at the wooden walls, as if something was trying to break in. My heart leapt and I gripped my knife tightly. A shadow darted past the doorway, vanishing into the darkness. The fear was almost tangible, tightening around me like a vice. A chill swept through the cabin, unnatural and heavy, causing the flames to flicker wildly. Elongated shadows twisted across the walls. Then I heard a low, menacing hiss near my ear, almost like the Serpent Lord itself whispering, "Who dares intrude in my domain?" I turned slowly towards the sound, heart racing, as the shadows seemed to close in around me. The air was thick with an ominous presence, and I could feel the Serpent Lord's rage pulsating through the very walls of the cabin. My breath quickened as I strained to hear the whispers that slithered through the air, almost forming words that danced on the edge of comprehension. Just then, a sudden crash echoed from outside, making the cabin tremble. I knew I was not alone. Something ancient and powerful lurked just out of sight, ready to claim its territory. I froze, unable to move, keeping my head down. The night stretched endlessly. I kept the fire going and scanned the room with my flashlight. Every rustle, every snap of a twig, every faint movement felt deliberate, as if my senses were being tested by an unseen immense force. In the dead of night, a pair of glowing yellow eyes appeared outside the window, piercing through the darkness like twin torches. My body stiffened, my pulse raced. The eyes were intelligent, calculating, and seemed to measure every detail of my being. I wrote hurriedly in my journal, "It knows me. It is observing me, and I can feel it testing my courage. I must survive until sunrise." By the time dawn approached, The hissing and noises slowly receded, but the sensation of being watched lingered. I realized that the trials of this mountain were far from over. The Serpent Lord's power remained omnipresent, an invisible hand shaping every step I took. With trembling legs, I emerged from the cabin, breathing deeply. The first night had tested my limits, and though I survived, I knew the journey ahead would push me even closer to the edge. Every sound, every shadow, every moment of stillness was a reminder that the Serpent Lord and its domain were far from tamed. The oppressive silence loomed around me as I took my first steps into the unknown, each crack of a twig beneath my feet amplifying the tension. The forest felt alive, breathing with secrets and threats that whispered just beyond my reach. In that clearing, I discovered remnants of a forgotten time, the air thick with magic and foreboding. My heart raced as I traced the runes with my fingers, feeling the pulse of the Serpent Lord's power resonating through the earth. Just then, an unsettling chill crept over me and I could hear it, a low echoing hiss that sent shivers down my spine. The Serpent Lord was near, lurking just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to strike. As the creature slithered into view, I felt my breath catch in my throat. Its scales glistened in the moonlight, and the realization hit me. This encounter would determine not just my fate, but the fate of all who dared to challenge the darkness. The morning mist hung heavily over the forest floor as I ventured deeper into Black Hollow. Each step was measured, every branch and leaf scrutinized. The air was thick with moisture and the scent of wet earth making every breath feel heavy, almost suffocating. I knew the Serpent Lord was near, and every movement I made was being observed. Shortly into the forest, I noticed strange patterns in the soil, circles and scratches that didn't belong to any ordinary animal. Twigs bent unnaturally, leaves arranged in almost ritualistic shapes. My pulse quickened. These were not just random signs. They were traps, warnings, or markers left by something intelligent, something that dominated this territory. Fear coursed through me as I realized I was not alone. The silence around me deepened, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves, as if the forest itself was alive, watching me, waiting. With my heart pounding, I moved carefully, keeping my senses alert for any signs of the creature behind these markings. The deeper I went, the more pronounced the signs became, each step revealing more of the hidden danger that lay ahead. Was the Serpent Lord truly near, or was it something else entirely? My instincts screamed at me to turn back, but curiosity and a sense of purpose pushed me forward into the unknown. The air was thick with tension as I navigated through the entangling vines, each movement feeling like an invitation to danger. The sense that eyes were watching me intensified, a feeling that the very forest was assessing my worthiness. Every rustle from the undergrowth felt like a warning, a reminder that the Serpent Lord's presence loomed closer, hiding somewhere just out of sight. I pressed on, determined to uncover the secrets this ancient place held, even as my heart raced with every hesitant footstep. I took a cautious step forward and almost fell into a shallow pit hidden under fallen leaves. Inside, I saw dried blood and scattered snake scales, remnants of whoever, or whatever, had ventured here before. My hands shook as I pulled myself out and scribbled into my journal. The forest itself is alive. Every step is a test. I am being measured, evaluated. The Serpent Lord is not hunting me yet, but it knows I'm here. Deeper into the mist, I found a thicket where the vines seemed alive. As I moved, they twisted lightly, almost as if trying to snag me, to delay or warn me. I realized that even the plants were part of the mountain's defense, used by the Serpent Lord to control and intimidate intruders. Suddenly, a shadow slithered across the ground, long and sinuous, vanishing quickly into the undergrowth. I barely caught the glint of its golden, intelligent eyes in the morning haze. My heart pounded and a chill ran down my spine. This was no ordinary snake. It was a guardian, a predator, and the master of this ancient domain. By mid-afternoon, I found a narrow ravine, its sides scarred with deep claw marks and streaks of dried blood. The wind whistled through the gap, producing a strange, almost haunting sound. Every instinct told me I was being watched, tested, and judged. As the sun began to set, the forest transformed into a realm of shadows and whispers, and I could feel the presence of the ancient guardian drawing closer. The air grew thicker, charged with an unspoken tension. As I ventured deeper into the realm, every rustle making my heart race with anticipation. In the heart of the forest, I stumbled upon an ancient altar, a place where time felt suspended and the weight of history pressed down on me. The carving seemed to pulse with energy, whispering secrets of the past, as if the guardian itself was beckoning me to uncover its mysteries. As evening approached, I made a temporary camp near the ravine. I lit a small fire, trying to keep the shadows at bay, but even the flickering flames seemed to stir movement in the mist. Leaves rustled, twigs snapped, and the soft hiss of the Serpent Lord echoed faintly from the trees. I wrote in my journal, "Everything here is a warning. Every plant, every stone, every shadow is alive with intent. I must stay alert until sunrise." That night, the hissing grew louder, echoing off the ravine walls. Shadows danced in the firelight, and I could swear I saw multiple glowing eyes peering from the darkness, measuring my every action. Sleep was impossible. I stayed alert, knowing that any lapse in attention could be fatal. As I sat there, the chill of the night seeped into my bones and the echoes around me intensified. Each rustle felt like a whisper from the unseen. Every snap of a twig was a reminder of the lurking danger. I strained my ears, convinced that the hiss was no longer just a sound, but a call to something ancient and powerful. Hours dragged on, and fatigue tugged at my eyelids, but I fought against surrendering to sleep. The shadows grew deeper, and I reached for a stick, poking the embers to keep the fire alive, feeling its warmth battle the encroaching cold. When dawn finally broke, the mist began to thin. I rose, muscles tense but mind focused. I had survived the second night, but I knew the forest and its Serpent Lord were testing me still. Every trace I followed, every shadow I saw confirmed that I was deep inside the territory of a creature both intelligent and terrifying, and the journey was far from over. The path ahead was barely visible, shrouded in uncertainty and the cool breath of morning. My heart raced, knowing that each step deeper into the wild brought me closer to the Serpent Lord, a creature of legend and dread that thrived on fear. The forest whispered secrets I could not yet decipher, urging me to tread carefully or face the consequences. Suddenly, I stumbled upon a clearing where the sun dared to break through the canopy, casting an otherworldly glow on the forest floor. In that moment of clarity, my breath caught in my throat as I spotted the Serpent Lord, its watchful eyes fixed upon me, embodying both a guardian and a predator within this enchanted yet perilous domain. As evening settled over Black Hollow, the forest grew even more oppressive. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting and dancing in the fading light. Every leaf, every branch seemed to carry a whisper, a faint hiss that set my nerves on edge. I realized that the Serpent Lord's domain was not just physical, it was psychological, manipulating fear and perception. I moved cautiously along a narrow path, the mist curling around my legs like living fingers. The ground was uneven, scattered with roots and rocks, but I could feel something stalking me, following my every step. Occasionally, a shadow would flit across the path ahead, vanishing before I could identify it. Just as I thought I was alone, a chill ran down my spine, and I halted, feeling the weight of unseen eyes upon me. My heart raced, echoing like a drum in the silence, as I glanced over my shoulder, half expecting to see the source of the cold dread that gripped my chest. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, but something deeper compelled me to uncover the truth hidden within these shadows. A rustle in the underbrush sent my senses into overdrive, and I stepped forward, determined to confront whatever threat lay ahead. Pausing beside a gnarled oak, I noticed tiny scales embedded in the bark, glinting faintly in the dim light. I picked one up, turning it in my fingers. The texture was cold, almost metallic. I wrote quickly in my journal, "These traces, they are everywhere." The Serpent Lord leaves markers, not just to show presence, but to remind intruders that they are not alone. A sudden rustle from behind made me spin around. Nothing. Only the trees swaying in the breeze, or so I told myself. But the sensation of being watched never left. I began to whisper into my recorder. It knows me, even when I cannot see it. Every shadow, every flicker in the mist is under its control. The forest felt alive, each rustle echoing like a warning as I followed the path deeper into the shadows. My heart raced with every step, the air thickening with tension, and the whispers of the wind seemed to carry secrets meant for me alone. It was almost as if the woods were conspiring against me, urging me to turn back. But curiosity drove me forward, the thrill of the unknown igniting a fire within me. Suddenly, a chill ran down my spine as I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye, something darting between the trees. I steadied my breath and pressed the record button again, knowing that whatever this was, it was about to reveal itself. Moving deeper, I entered a clearing. The air was unnaturally still, as though the forest itself were holding its breath. From the edge of the mist came a low, vibrating hiss, not loud, but powerful enough to resonate in my chest. I froze, listening. The sound repeated, echoing in a rhythm almost like a heartbeat or a warning. I noticed the first signs of deliberate manipulation, broken branches forming a subtle pattern on the ground, leaves piled as if pointing toward a path, faint scratches in the soil. These were not random. The Serpent Lord was guiding me, testing me, shaping my movements. The shadows shifted, and I felt the presence of the Serpent Lord nearby, watching my every move with keen interest. His form blended seamlessly with the mist, a spectral silhouette whispering ancient secrets. My heart raced as I knelt down, my fingers trembling as they traced the intricate design on the forest floor. Each mark pulsed with energy, as if the forest were alive, waiting for my next decision. With every cautious breath, I could sense the weight of the challenge ahead, and the realization dawned upon me. I was part of something much greater than myself. Night fell fully. I set up a small fire, careful not to let it flare too high. Even so, shadows danced around me, and the faint glow of eyes could be seen peering from the mist. Every snap of a twig, every hiss, every subtle movement made my heart leap. I wrote in my journal, "Tonight, I understand." The Serpent Lord is not merely a creature. It is the master of perception, shaping reality around me, using the forest itself as a weapon. Hours passed in tense silence. The mist thickened, enveloping my camp. But the sounds eventually receded, leaving only the occasional rustle. Exhausted but alert, I finally allowed myself to breathe. I knew that the deeper I went, the more dangerous and surreal the forest would become, and that my understanding of the Serpent Lord was only beginning. With the first hints of dawn, I extinguished my fire and prepared to move. Every shadow seemed to linger longer than it should. Every whisper of wind felt deliberate. I realized that the Serpent Lord had already set the rules, and survival depended on respect, observation, and patience. I stepped cautiously onto the hidden trail, every crunch of leaves beneath my feet echoing like a warning in the stillness. The atmosphere thickened with tension, as if the very air held its breath, waiting for an inevitable confrontation. As I paused among the thick foliage, my senses heightened, straining to catch even the slightest sound. The tension was palpable, and I knew that within this realm knowledge was power, and every decision could mean the difference between life and death. In a hidden clearing, I discovered an ancient altar shrouded in mystery and forgotten tales. As I knelt to examine, the carving stories of the Serpent Lord's dominion unfolded before me, offering essential insights that could aid my survival. The morning air in Black Hollow was damp and heavy, carrying the lingering scent of wet moss and earth. I cautiously made my way toward the ravine I had spotted the previous day, every step deliberate, every movement measured. The forest seemed alive, listening to my heartbeat and echoing my presence. As I approached the ravine, I noticed the marks of the Serpent Lord more clearly, deep gouges in the rocks, scales scattered across the ground, and faint streaks of dried blood. These were unmistakable signs of a predator that lurked in the shadows, stalking its territory with an unnerving grace. As I entered the ravine, the temperature dropped and my breath turned to mist in the air. Every rustle of leaves seemed magnified, echoing around me, as if warning me to turn back. The shadows thickened as I stepped further in, and the scent of damp earth intensified. Thoughts raced through my mind, each one darker than the last, questioning what I would find ahead. Suddenly, I spotted something glimmering amidst the underbrush, and my heart raced with a mixture of fear and curiosity. I scribbled into my journal, "Every detail here is a warning. This place is more than just a forest. It is the Serpent Lord's domain, every element a part of its influence." The ravine itself seemed to hum with an eerie energy, A cold breeze swept through it, carrying a low, vibrating hiss that resonated in my chest. It was a sound that felt alive, almost like the mountain itself was speaking. I paused, listening intently, feeling the weight of invisible eyes upon me. A chill ran down my spine as I sensed movement amidst the shadows. The tales of the Serpent Lord echoed in my mind, stories of its dominion and the unwelcome fate of those who dared to intrude. I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the mounting dread, knowing that each step forward brought me closer to the heart of this unnatural realm. With each cautious step, the forest seemed to pulse around me, as if it were fully aware of my presence. I could feel the eyes of unseen watchers lingering in the corners of my vision, their gaze heavy and judgmental. My heart raced as I approached the edge of the ravine, peering into the abyss where the darkness promised both danger and revelation. Moving along the edge, I caught sight of a shadow slithering along the rocks, its golden eyes catching the faint morning light. I froze, muscles tense, heart pounding. This was not the first time I had glimpsed the creature, but every encounter felt more intense, more dangerous. I realized that the Serpent Lord was using its presence to test my courage, patience, and awareness. Further down the ravine, I discovered a series of subtle traps, pits covered with leaves, sharpened branches, positioned like spikes, and narrow ledges designed to destabilize intruders. I understood then that the Serpent Lord was not merely defending its territory physically, but also psychologically, making even the bravest explorer doubt every step. As I drew closer to the heart of the ravine, doubt began to creep in like the shadows around me, and my instincts screamed to turn back. The traps were not just physical barriers. They were designed to unravel the bravest of hearts, making me question my every decision. As the afternoon sun waned, shadows lengthened and the mist thickened. I set up a temporary camp near a rocky outcrop, keeping my fire small to avoid drawing attention. Yet the presence of the Serpent Lord was palpable in every hiss, every rustle of leaves, and every flicker of the mist. I wrote, "It watches from the shadows, not just to hunt, but to teach, to warn, to remind me that I am a guest in its world." As the night deepened, the sounds of the forest transformed. Rustles and whispers danced through the air, echoing an age-old warning. The fire provided little comfort, for I knew I was not alone. Every shadow felt alive, every breath taken shared with an unseen force, reminding me of the balance between fear and respect. I could sense the Serpent Lord was near, wrapped in the mists of the old forest, each heartbeat synchronizing with the pulse of the earth. I whispered to the night, sharing my thoughts, hoping to connect beyond mere survival, seeking understanding in this primal wilderness. As I paused to capture my thoughts, a faint glimmer of light broke through the thick canopy, illuminating a small clearing. Shadows danced around the edges, creating an eerie yet captivating atmosphere. My grip tightened on the recorder in my hand, its screen glowing softly as I spoke into it, revealing my tense expression and the urgency building within me. Who or what is watching me? I pondered, feeling the weight of unseen eyes fixed upon my every move. The forest seemed quieter than ever as I ventured deeper into Black Hollow. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their gnarled branches casting long shadows that twisted in the dim light. Every step I took felt heavily observed, as if the very air itself were aware of my presence. Along a narrow path, I noticed subtle movements in the undergrowth, tiny rustles, shifts in leaves. But whenever I turned my head, nothing was there. The sensation of being watched grew stronger with each step. I whispered into my recorder, "The mountain itself is alive. Every sound, every shadow is a signal. I feel its eyes upon me, unseen, yet undeniable." The deeper I moved, the more the forest seemed to manipulate my senses. The mist thickened, forming illusionary shapes that made the trees appear to move, to shift, to follow me. I realized then that the Serpent Lord's power was not limited to physical territory. It extended into the perception of anyone who dared enter. Suddenly, a soft hiss echoed from above, causing me to look up. There, coiled around a high branch, was a glimpse of the Serpent Lord's massive body. Its golden eyes glimmered with intelligence, unblinking, studying my every move. My pulse quickened, but I forced myself to remain calm, knowing that panic would make me reckless. I took a cautious step forward, heart racing, the sense of dread mingling with curiosity. The light filtering through the leaves created dancing patterns on the ground, but the way the shadows shifted unnerved me. I had heard tales of the Serpent Lord, stories of those who lost their way and were never seen again. Yet something compelled me to stay to uncover the secrets this enchanted forest held. The soft rustle of leaves whispered warnings, yet my feet pressed onward, drawn deeper into the mystique. I carefully continued stepping over roots and fallen branches, noting every trail marker scale and scratch along the way. Each trace was a warning and a guide simultaneously. The Serpent Lord was teaching me how to navigate its domain, while reminding me of my vulnerability. By mid-afternoon, I reached a small clearing. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as if awaiting my next move. The silence was eerily absolute, broken only by the distant hiss of the Serpent Lord and the occasional creak of branches. I set down my pack and lit a small fire, but even the flickering flames couldn't dispel the feeling of unseen eyes tracking me. As I sat there, the warmth of the fire could hardly reach the chill settling in my bones. My senses were on high alert, every rustle of leaves and crack of twigs sending shivers down my spine. The Serpent Lord was out there, lurking its presence an ever-looming threat. I recalled the teachings I had learned so far, each lesson etched into my memory like the markings on the trees around me. It was a test of both skill and will, a dance between predator and prey, and I fought to keep my composure amid the encroaching darkness. Hours passed. Shadows stretched and swirled in the firelight, creating the illusion of movement all around. My journal was filled with frantic notes. It is everywhere. I cannot see it at all times, yet I can feel its presence. Every whisper of wind, every flicker of light is under its control. As night fell completely, the Serpent Lord's glowing eyes appeared intermittently in the mist, measuring and judging me. Sleep was impossible. I stayed alert, gripping my knife and journal tightly. Every sound, every shadow, every movement was a test. Panic threatened to bubble up inside me as the darkness closed in. With every heartbeat, I felt the weight of unseen eyes watching my every move. The air was thick with tension, and I was acutely aware that I was not alone. Every snap of a twig or rustle in the underbrush made my heart race, and I cursed myself for venturing into this forsaken place. The Serpent Lord's whispers echoed in my mind, taunting me, reminding me of the stakes at hand. When dawn finally came, the mist receded slightly. The forest seemed to exhale, releasing its tension, but leaving me with the knowledge that the Serpent Lord was still watching. I rose exhausted but alive, knowing that the deeper I ventured, the more intricate and dangerous the trials would become. The mountain and its guardian had not yet revealed their full power. Each step took me further into the unknown, where whispers of ancient secrets echoed through the air. Shadows danced playfully along my path, yet I couldn't shake the feeling of being pursued, as if the very trees were alive, watching my every move. The air grew thicker, heavy with anticipation, as I prepared myself for the trials that awaited me. In that clearing, the promise of treasure teased my senses, but I knew better than to chase illusions carelessly. The stone figure of the Serpent Lord loomed above me, a silent reminder of the dangers that lay ahead. With each heartbeat, I felt the weight of destiny pressing upon me, urging me to prove my worth in this untamed wilderness. The forest of Black Hollow seemed endless as I followed a narrow, winding path. Each step was uncertain as the ground twisted underfoot with hidden roots and loose stones. The fog clung to the trees, and every shadow seemed alive, bending and stretching as if testing my perception. I noticed subtle signs along the path, scratches on bark, faint scales embedded in the soil, and unusual arrangements of rocks. It was clear that the Serpent Lord had prepared this path, deliberately guiding intruders while simultaneously challenging them. My heart pounded as I whispered into my recorder, "Every step is a test, every shadow a warning. The forest itself is a labyrinth controlled by the Serpent Lord." With every heartbeat, I wondered if I was walking deeper into danger or simply chasing shadows. The atmosphere grew heavier, wrapping around me like a shroud, and I could almost hear the whispers of the Serpent Lord lurking just beyond the veil of fog. Suddenly a shiver ran down my spine as I sensed something watching me from the shadows. The air grew tense, and I could feel the Serpent Lord's presence, as if the forest itself had come alive to ensnare me in its twisted game. As I moved deeper, the mist thickened. Shapes appeared and vanished at the corner of my vision. Branches swayed without wind, and leaves rustled with unnatural patterns. My mind began to play tricks on me. I paused and focused, realizing that the Serpent Lord's influence extended beyond the physical. It warped perception, creating illusions to keep intruders cautious and alert. Just ahead, I spotted a stone altar, its surface etched with ancient symbols that seemed to pulse with energy. The air crackled as I approached, tension coiling around me like a serpent ready to strike, and I knew the Serpent Lord was watching, waiting for a sign of weakness. Suddenly I felt its presence. The Serpent Lord materialized from the shadows, eyes gleaming with ancient wisdom and malice. A chill coursed through my veins as I realized this was not just a confrontation of strength, but a battle of wits and wills where deception reigned supreme. With a wave of his hand, the Serpent Lord summoned shadows that danced menacingly around me, distorting the very air I breathed. My heart raced as I braced myself for the unseen traps lying in wait, each breath becoming a reminder that in this realm nothing was as it seemed. Suddenly I saw a flash of golden eyes between two trees. They glowed fixed on me, unblinking. I froze, muscles tense, knowing this was not a random encounter. The creature was observing, assessing, and asserting its dominance over the territory. I wrote in my journal, "It watches, always watching. I cannot see its full form, but I feel its intelligence and power. Every misstep could be my last." The path led to a steep incline. Rocks were slick with moisture, and loose gravel threatened to betray each step. I carefully climbed, feeling the weight of unseen eyes tracking me. Somewhere above, I could hear the faint hiss of the Serpent Lord vibrating through the air and echoing off the cliffs. The words flowed from my pen like a stream of consciousness, each stroke fueled by fear and wonder. The forest felt alive, every rustle and crackle heightened my senses as I sensed the creature's presence lurking just beyond sight. My heart raced as the chilling hiss echoed again, reverberating in my bones, reminding me of the lurking danger. The Serpent Lord was no mere myth. It was real, a guardian of these woods that I had inadvertently trespassed into. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead, the weight of fate heavy on my shoulders. Midway, I found a small alcove, a natural hollow in the rocks. It was a place to rest, but even here the tension remained. Shadows moved along the walls and the mist swirled unnaturally, as if trying to obscure my position. I lit a tiny fire, enough to see, but not enough to attract attention. I scribbled in my journal, "Even in stillness, I feel its presence." The Serpent Lord is not a creature that simply hunts. It commands, teaches, and tests. Its domain is alive in every sense. As I penned my thoughts, the air grew heavy with an unspoken warning, each line a testament to the weight of my discoveries. The shadows danced to the rhythm of the flickering firelight, whispering secrets of the Serpent Lord's ancient wisdom, urging me to decipher its enigmatic lessons. My heart raced as I realized that every moment spent in this hidden refuge was a test of courage against the unseen forces lurking beyond. Just as I felt a moment of clarity, a movement caught my eye, a dark silhouette shifting through the mist outside. My breath hitched. The Serpent Lord was near, watching, testing my resolve. The fire crackled, as if echoing my pulse, each flicker illuminating the path ahead, while shrouding the dangers that lay within the shadows. Night descended quickly. The forest became silent except for the hiss and faint movement of the Serpent Lord echoing through the twisted paths. I stayed vigilant, unable to sleep, knowing that one wrong move could have fatal consequences. The golden eyes appeared intermittently in the mist, reminding me that I was deep inside its domain, constantly evaluated. When dawn broke, the mist thinned slightly. I continued along the twisted path, weary but determined. The mountain and its guardian had shown me that survival required constant awareness, respect, and the courage to face fear head-on. With each step, the path twisted and turned, unveiling the secrets of the forest, while my heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. The chill of the morning air invigorated me, pushing me onward as I recalled the tales of the Serpent Lord, ancient and powerful. Climbing higher, the trees began to thin, giving way to rocky terrain that tested my resolve. Each breath felt heavier, yet the promise of the summit loomed, encouraging me to conquer my fears. I took a cautious step forward, the forest murmuring in response to my intrusion. Every rustle felt magnified, a reminder that I was far from alone in this realm of power and mystery. I paused at the edge of a small clearing. The ground was littered with scales, broken branches, and what looked like remnants of previous intruders. The evidence of the Serpent Lord's dominance was unmistakable, and I felt a chill of both fear and awe. My recorder captured the whisper of the wind. This place, it is alive. Every step I take is measured, every sound amplified. The Serpent Lord's presence is here in every element of the forest. As I pressed record once more, the air thickened with tension. My heart raced as primal instincts urged me to turn back, yet an irresistible curiosity pulled me deeper into the Serpent Lord's domain. In the heart of the clearing lay a small pool, its surface disturbingly still, yet mirroring the sky above. I couldn't shake the feeling that the water held secrets, perhaps even the essence of the Serpent Lord himself. Venturing further, I noticed a series of stone formations almost ritualistic in their arrangement. The mist swirled around them, creating shapes that seemed to move when I wasn't looking directly. The forest had a rhythm, a pulse, and I felt as though I had entered the true heart of the Serpent Lord's domain. A sudden rustle in the undergrowth made me freeze. Through the mist, I caught a glimpse of the glint of golden eyes, massive and unblinking, observing my every move. My pulse quickened, but I forced myself to remain calm. The Serpent Lord was not attacking. It was judging my presence, evaluating my intentions. I could feel the weight of its gaze like a physical presence pressing down on me. Each scale gleamed with an otherworldly brilliance that seemed to pulse with energy. I cautiously stepped forward, drawn by an invisible force as the ancient stones whispered secrets of old. The air was thick with magic, and I realized that this was not just a confrontation. It was an invitation to unveil the mysteries guarded by the Serpent Lord. With every heartbeat, the forest seemed to come alive, resonating with the age-old stories woven into its very fabric. I carefully navigated a narrow path along a cliff edge, the ground slick with damp leaves. One misstep could be fatal. Somewhere in the mist, the hiss grew louder, vibrating through the air and into my bones. I whispered into my recorder, "It is not merely a predator. It is a ruler, a judge, a master of this entire hollow. Every shadow, every sound is under its control." As night approached, I set up a small fire in a natural alcove, but even the flickering light could not dispel the tension. The Serpent Lord's glowing eyes appeared intermittently in the mist, tracking me, measuring me, reminding me that I was an intruder. I realized that this place was alive not just with creatures but with the consciousness of the Serpent Lord itself. With the fire's glow as my only companion, I felt the weight of unseen eyes upon me from every direction, the air thick with anticipation. Each rustle in the foliage sent shivers down my spine, a reminder that I was not alone. The Serpent Lord ruled this domain, its presence palpable in the stillness, and I could sense it measuring my worthiness to invade its sacred space. My heart raced as I pulled my jacket closer, hoping that the warmth of the flames could shield me from both the chill of the night and the primal fear creeping into my mind. Each crackle of the fire echoed like a heartbeat, mingling with the distant hisses that seemed to weave through the air. I knew I had to remain vigilant, for every creature in this hollow was a pawn in the Serpent Lord's game. The air was thick with tension, each rustle of leaves sending shivers down my spine. As I ventured deeper, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, shadows flitting just out of sight. The Serpent Lord was no mere legend. It was a living presence intertwining with the very roots of this woodland. Every sound seemed to carry a warning, urging me to retreat, but my determination only grew stronger. I pressed on, knowing that within this dangerous beauty lay answers to questions I didn't yet fully understand. Hours passed in silence. The forest seemed to breathe around me, and the hiss echoed constantly, a reminder of the ever-present guardian. I scribbled in my journal, "I am deep in its heart. Every instinct warns me, yet curiosity drives me forward. To survive, I must respect this place, respect the Serpent Lord, and remain vigilant. By the first light of dawn, the mist began to thin, revealing glimpses of the path ahead. I rose cautiously, aware that every shadow could conceal danger. The forest had tested me through illusions, pressure, and constant observation. But I had survived. I knew that the journey into Black Hollow's deepest secrets was far from over, and the Serpent Lord still held the ultimate power over all who dared enter. The forest seemed alive with anticipation as I moved deeper into Black Hollow. Every step was deliberate, every breath measured. The undergrowth grew thick and tangled, and the mist clung to the trees like a living veil. I knew that I had entered the Serpent Lord's true domain, where every shadow and every sound was under its control. I noticed the first signs of its deliberate patterns, twisted branches forming almost symbolic shapes, moss-covered stones arranged in intricate lines, and faint scratches in the soil that could only have been left by something intelligent. The forest itself seemed to react to my presence, bending and shifting subtly as I moved. Suddenly, I felt a pair of eyes upon me, watching my every move. The shadows deepened around me, and I could sense that I was not alone in this domain. As I ventured further, the air thickened with tension, and the Serpent Lord revealed itself, an imposing figure that towered amidst the trees. The forest held its breath, waiting for the confrontation. The Serpent Lord coiled around a massive tree, its scales glistening ominously in the darkness. In that haunting moment, I met its piercing gaze, feeling the weight of the ancient wisdom and danger contained within. Through the dense mist, I caught glimpses of golden eyes watching me from every direction. They were unblinking, piercing, and filled with a consciousness that sent shivers down my spine. I whispered into my recorder, "I am not alone. Every shadow, every rustle of leaves, it knows I am here. It is judging, waiting, controlling." The terrain became treacherous. Narrow paths twisted along cliffs, roots and rocks threatened every step, and the faint hiss echoed constantly, vibrating in the air and in my chest. I realized that the Serpent Lord's domain was not just a place. It was a test of awareness, courage, and endurance. Every heartbeat was amplified in the silence, reminding me of the stakes. With each careful step, I felt the weight of the unseen eyes pressing upon my back, challenging my resolve and testing my spirit. Branches seemed to whisper secrets while the air thickened with tension. I could sense that the path ahead was fraught with danger, yet there was no turning back. The Serpent Lord awaited. At one point, I saw a massive coiled body slithering through the trees. Its scales glimmered in the faint light, and its golden eyes followed my every move. The Serpent Lord moved with an eerie grace, silent and deliberate, reminding me that it ruled this domain completely. I wrote in my journal, "It is the master here. Every element of the forest bends to its will. To survive, I must respect its rules and understand its patterns." Night descended quickly. I set up a small fire, but even the flickering flames could not dispel the sense of being watched. Shadows moved independently of the light, and the hiss came from every corner. I stayed alert, knowing that a single misstep could have dire consequences. As the darkness deepened, the sounds of the forest grew louder, urging me to remain vigilant. Every rustle of leaves heightened my anxiety, reminding me of the unseen presence that lurked beyond the flickering flames. I could almost feel the weight of the Serpent Lord's gaze, heavy and possessive, each moment stretching into eternity. My heart raced as I jotted down my thoughts in the journal, capturing not only the fear, but a strange allure that this creature held over me. Was it terror or fascination that kept me transfixed? Time slipped away, and though exhaustion pressed against my eyelids, I knew sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. By midnight, the golden eyes appeared intermittently in the mist, glowing and calculating. I remained silent, heart-racing, notebook in hand, documenting everything I could. The forest seemed to breathe around me, alive with the intelligence and power of the Serpent Lord. As dawn approached, the mist began to thin slightly, revealing glimpses of the twisted paths ahead. I rose cautiously, muscles tense. The Serpent Lord's domain had tested me through illusions, psychological pressure, and relentless observation. I had survived, but only barely, and the ultimate challenge awaited in the final stretch of Black Hollow. With every step, I felt the weight of my journey pressing down on me, the air thick with tension, and the whispers of ancient secrets urging me forward. As I approached the heart of the forest, my pulse quickened. The altar loomed ahead, a silent witness to the trials that would soon unfold. Standing before the altar, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on me, knowing that this moment would define everything that followed. The final stretch of Black Hollow was unlike anything I had encountered before. The trees were colossal, their twisted limbs forming an almost cathedral-like canopy. Mist rolled in waves, and the air was thick with tension. I knew that somewhere within this maze, the Serpent Lord awaited, fully aware of my intrusion. With every step I took, the sounds of the forest faded into an eerie silence, amplifying the pounding of my heart. I could feel the weight of unseen eyes watching me, waiting for the right moment to strike. Then a flicker of movement caught my eye. Something serpentine slipped away into the darkness, leaving me filled with dread. I stepped into a clearing and gazed upon a daunting stone altar, its surface etched with foreboding runes that seemed to pulse with a dark energy. Suddenly, from the shadows, the Serpent Lord materialized, his scaled form imposing and terrifying, radiating a palpable menace. My heart raced as I lifted the torch high, illuminating not only my resolute determination, but also the fearsome presence of the Serpent Lord inches away from me. It hissed low and resonant, vibrating through the forest. My legs stiffened, but I forced myself to remain calm. I realized then that confrontation was inevitable. I scribbled in my journal, "It is not merely a creature. It is the essence of this forest. I am small, but I cannot retreat. I must face it, respect it, understand it." The Serpent Lord slithered slowly closer, each movement deliberate, measuring me. Its gaze pierced through the mist, seeing past fear and into my very intentions. The forest seemed to hold its breath. I could feel the immense power emanating from it, a being both predator and ruler, judge and guardian. As it approached, a tension filled the air, heavy enough to silence even the smallest of creatures. I could feel my heart racing, yet an unexpected calm washed over me. This was not just a confrontation, it felt like an awakening. The very essence of the forest seemed to pulse around us, urging me to embrace the moment. Each scale glimmered like a gem in the fading light, drawing me into its depths. Memories of ancient tales echoed in my mind, stories of those who had come before me, hunters, seekers, fools, and wise men alike. I stood my ground, offering no threat, only a plea for understanding. Time seemed suspended as we regarded each other. I spoke softly, trying to maintain my composure. "I mean no harm. I am only here to witness, to understand." The hiss resonated again, almost approvingly. It was as if the Serpent Lord recognized my respect and courage, two qualities essential to survive its domain. Hours passed in tense stillness. The Serpent Lord eventually retreated, coiling itself within the shadows, leaving me with a profound sense of awe. I understood that true dominance lay not in aggression, but in presence, vigilance, and respect for the ancient rules. As I stepped back into the light, the weight of the encounter settled within me. The world outside felt brighter, clearer, filled with possibilities I had never noticed before. With each breath I carried not just the memory of the Serpent Lord, but a new perspective on power and coexistence. The ancient rules were not merely remnants of a time long past. They were lessons etched into the very fabric of existence. Leaving the shadows behind, I knew I would approach life with a newfound reverence, respecting all creatures and their domains. As dawn broke, I made my way out of Black Hollow. The mist began to dissipate, the forest slowly returning to its natural rhythm. My journal was filled with observations, fears, and lessons learned. I entered the Serpent Lord's domain as an intruder, but I leave with understanding. To survive in this place, one must respect its power, remain vigilant, and never underestimate the intelligence that governs every shadow. I took one last glance at the forest, knowing that the Serpent Lord still reigned supreme, its domain untouched and eternal. The journey had ended, but the memory of its golden eyes and haunting hisses would remain with me forever. As I ventured further down the winding path, the forest whispered its secrets, each rustle of leaves echoing with ancient stories. I could feel the weight of the Serpent Lord's presence lingering in the air, a reminder of my brush with its enigmatic power. Every shadow seemed alive, dancing around me, urging caution and respect. Black Hollow was more than just a place. It was a living entity, echoing with the wisdom of ages past. Despite my fears, an exhilarating freedom coursed through me, knowing I had faced the unknown and returned with more than just memories.